All right. Thanks, everybody, joining me live right now for another sit down, volume 2. All right. I'm your host, Gfunky Boxing, and I'm being joined by Rick Glaser. How's it going, Rick?
Good, G Funk. Glad to be on your show again tonight. And it's been a while, but had a good time. Great time the first time, and ready to go for another hour of action with you.
That's right, man. Well, yeah, it's been a little bit, that's for sure. But I definitely appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late where you're at, so I definitely appreciate you, Rick. Got a few people here in the chat that are here early. Drumming for Life says, salute, G. What's up, man? Hey, I was checking out some of your videos earlier, man. That's some good stuff you got going on over there. And my man, Santeo Media as well. Guys, Rick's going to spend some time with us. He's going to spend 1 hour with us here. And I'm going to get off some questions here with Rick. And then I will let you guys, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat. And, we'll let Rick go to sleep because where he's at, it's already Friday morning. So, Rick, happy Friday.
Thanks. You too, Funk.
I still got a few hours for myself before it's Friday, but hey, we can celebrate Friday together early. All right. Boxing Vitals is here as well. What's going on, guys? Okay. So, Rick, real quickly here for the people that might not know, how you got started in the business and stuff like that. Would you mind going in and letting us know how you got started into the boxing business?
I got started in 1991. I actually was on federal probation for a racketeering conviction, basically speaking, and I had done do some community service, and I went down to the local PL boxing gym, the Police Athletic League, started working with the little kids. Back, I paid for them to go to the state Golden Gloves and other tournaments and stuff, and a couple of kids wanted to turn pro and call up a promoter. And next thing I know, I was in the professional boxing business. It overtook me. I've been full time since January 1st of 1991. So it'll be 32 years coming up in a few short months. And
Nice, nice.
this day, and now my company is called glazerboxing.com. What I do is I'm a 24/7, 365 worldwide provider of quality supplemental services to the boxing business globally. Now for almost 32 years, and I have clients literally all over the world.
All
So
right.
I acquired two new clients just today in two separate conversations with two different fine gentlemen. So this is what I do. I don't represent fighters. I advise a couple fighters that have managers. I advise the managers, but my business is more corporate. I'm a expert witness in lawsuits. I advise companies that invest in boxing, advise TV networks, I advise managers, promoters, I supply sparring partners, I broker fights, do a little bit of everything. I lobby the organizations, all the four organizations that get guys moved up in the ratings, and just all the stuff that other people don't want to do that they take credit for it on a Saturday night somewhere. And I'm the guy in the behind the scene pulling strings and doing what I got to do.
That sounds cool, man. Now I know you did some work with Mr. Don King as well. Um, Let us know a little something about that, Rick. How was it working with Don back in the
I
days?
love Don. Worked with Don from February of 2003 up to 2016 when I contracted cancer and I couldn't travel for 3 years. And Don and I are still dear friends today. But he was a client of mine for 13 years, and we got along extremely well. And we still have a great relationship today. He's a pleasure to work with. I have zero negativity to say about Don, and treated me like fantastic. And just it was a great relationship. Let's put it that way to you. Business and still a personal relationship. Great guy. Super guy.
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. Yeah, we
No
hear a
problem.
lot of things as fans about Don King. Uh, I personally don't know if all this stuff is true or not. I can tell you this: all the people that I've spoke to since I've been getting people on that are either fighters or involved in the business of boxing, they've all really haven't had a negative thing to say about Don King.
No,
Um,
here's the thing. Can I just interrupt you real
sure.
quick to just sum Don up? Don's the kind of guy. If you're loyal to Don and he trusts you, he'll do anything for you, financially, whatever it takes. If you try to fuck Don, you might as well kill yourself. That's just the way it is. Okay, that's just the way it is. That's just there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's how Don
Yeah.
is, and then I'm the first to admit it. But you know what? Don loves loyalty, and Don doesn't like people that are disloyal. That's all there is to it. Best way to explain it. Or he doesn't like people that try to screw him over. So there you go. There's your answer. There's your answer right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Don always
Yeah.
treated me very well.
Yeah, I talked to Christy Martin, who's one of the greatest female fighters of all time. She was promoted by Don King. She had nothing but good things to say about him when we asked about Don. She said she even still does some work with Don today.
Yeah, she does.
Um,
Yeah, she
yeah,
does.
yeah, she's doing some
Yep.
promoting down in Florida. Shout out to Christy Martin, one of my favorite interviews I've ever done here on YouTube. And also Nate Campbell is a guy who I spoke to several times who was also promoted by Don King, and he had no issues with King at all. So
No.
yeah.
Matter of
Go
fact,
ahead.
I brokered the deal for Nate to go to Don through his manager Terry Terry Trackus. I'm the one that brokered that deal. I'm the one that made the arrangements for the sit down. I'm the one that got in between and all the differences, agreements, which always going to have in negotiations. And I facilitated that whole deal. And he fought Juan Diaz, who I brought to Don, and he beat that. He beat Juan. So there you go.
That was a great performance by Nate too, and that was in Mexico too. So
Yep.
big win there for Nate Campbell. Hey, what's going on to Combat Sports Media in the chat? Thanks for joining us, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're watching this live, and if you're not watching it live, you catch it on the replay. Hit that like button, okay? I'm always here to remind you that it's free, okay, and it helps out the channel, okay. So real quickly before we get into some current stuff, Rick, since you've been in the game for 30 plus years, give me and the fans that are watching right now, give me two or three of your most favorite moments while working in boxing.
Um, I would say Paul Spadafora winning the world title. I brought him along from his second pro fight. The first one I was involved with. The second one I wasn't there, and thereafter, and he won the world title. And I think, and he was a massive underdog to Pito Cardona, and he played with Cardona. Cardona had been knocking out everybody on USA Network and ESPN, knocking people dead, and he came along and. Paul played with him and won the world title. So I would say that um, under my regime, Paul was, I think, 45-0-1, 46-0 undefeated. He ended up finishing up 49-1-1, but he left his promoter in 2010, and I worked with his promoter with Paul through his promoter. And I, of course, stayed loyal to the promoter because that's the way I am. And Paul winning the world title and going on under my regime for a guy that couldn't punch and had a lot of personal issues. And I love Paul to this day. I talk to him all the time. Um, Having him 45-0-1 or whatever what it was, 46-0-1 was good. I was the matchmaker for Joe Calzaghe, Roy Jones. I actually brokered the deal. They appointed me as the matchmaker against my better judgment. But and it turned out to be Joe's last fight, and I think was a moment because it was history because he's really the greatest super middleweight of all time. Even though that was a light heavyweight bout and that was his last fight, he walked away from the game undefeated. That
Mm-hmm.
was a great moment. Arthur Williams winning the world title with me as his advisor. He didn't have a manager. I was his advisor. He did have a manager. I shouldn't say didn't have, they were strained. Let's put it that way to you. And they were strained, and I was put in place by Arthur and an attorney and everything else. And I guided him there and stuff like that. And that was another one because of the fact that he was 34 years old and he had multiple tries at the world title before he actually won. So that was exciting in itself, just because of the fact that he was 34 already, and because he had had multiple tries and didn't win. And if he was a 24-year-old stud or 25-year-old stud who was undefeated and won the world title, that wouldn't be such as a big accomplishment. But the fact that he had already had several shots at the apple, and he was now 34 years old, and he was an underdog, and he knocked out a Malmo Mayfield. Um, I think that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, that's good stuff there, man. Good stuff.
Thank
Yeah, I
you.
remember Joe Calzaghe back in the day. Once he finally came over to the US, made a big splash, and like you said, finished his career undefeated. Combat Sports Media here has a comment. He says, most of the negative shit we hear about Don King in the business is started by other people who are jealous of him within the business. That's what I realized. And that's kind of what Rick kind of said himself here when I asked him about Don. And then we already have a question for you here, Rick. Carl Hunter Hansen says he wants to know if it makes you sick to your stomach that fighters today don't want the smoke and protect their O at all costs.
I just wrote about it on Twitter. I had said that it's a different era today, and these guys there's no pride and legacy in these guys at all. They just want to collect their paychecks and they want the easy bag, and they don't want to fight for it. And Jamal Charlo, that's the 160-pound champion. He hasn't fought in 16 months, and he doesn't fight
Yeah.
anybody. And they canceled his last fight because they didn't sell any tickets. I mean, nobody cares, and he's got to fight somebody, and he's not going to go fight Charlo. Charlo's not going to go fight Canelo. Canelo ain't doing that. He's too smart. Not that he wouldn't wipe the floor with the guy, but he doesn't mean anything. He's just not a draw. Who gives a shit? So these guys are creating bad legacies for themselves.
Yeah, the inactivity is terrible for some of these fighters. And Charlo is a guy who, I actually think is a good fighter, but just doesn't fight enough, and he's going to miss this entire year. He fought once last year and was in tough with Juan Montiel, who just got knocked out by Carlos Adames last Saturday. So, yeah, we'll see what Charlo does. I'll say this, Rick, since we're on the middleweight division, let's talk a little bit about the middleweight division because there has been zero movement with these belts. There's been no unifications, and it doesn't seem like there's anything
Well,
in the near
the only
future.
movement was bad when stupid Demetrius Andrade just gave up the title, his meal ticket, and now Janobek's the champion, full champion of the
Mhm.
WBO. Jamel Charlo won't fight anybody. The list is endless, and then GGG's got the other two belts. When's he going to fight again? He just got licked from at 68.
Canelo.
He's got the WBA and the IBF, so it's going to be a while before he fights. It's just a dead division.
Yeah, it is.
Janobek's fighting a guy. He should be able to beat him. He's a good fighter. Denzel Bentley from the UK. He's not great, but he's a solid guy. Put up a good fight, but I don't think he's beaten Janobek. And he just became champ, so I don't expect him to fight Godzilla the first time out. I
Right.
get that, but the other two guys are inactive. I mean, Charlo, GGG's got two belts. He just fought at 68, so he'll be out for a while after that licking from Canelo, and then you got Charlo, who hasn't fought in 16 months. It's a dead division.
It sure is. I like to call it the middle weights, like
Middle
WAITS
waist,
weights.
middle waist, right?
There you go. That's another one too. But one guy who I'm very disappointed in at this point. I mean, he's close to 40. I think he is 40 something and 0 already. Jaime Munguia. When is
Well,
this guy ever going to get a fight? Like, I don't know what they're
well,
doing with him there.
I don't. You know what? He was already WBO champ. I just think Zanfer is protecting him. Oscar wants to put him in. Zanfer's protecting him because he's managed by Zanfer. And there's issues there. What can I tell you? I mean, there's definitely issues there. And I'm very disappointed myself. That's
Yes,
the
I
best
am
way to
very.
put it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, because
very
I think
disappointed.
I think he's a lot better fighter than they think he is. I'll put it that
Yeah,
way. I would make him a favorite to beat Jamal Charlo.
There's a lot of people that would say that as well. I think it's a 50-50
Yeah.
fight at this point,
I,
for
I
sure.
I think Charlo has trouble making the weight. He's older now. He's 32 years old, and I think that he's got problems. And I think the other guy's fresh. He's fresher, younger. He throws too many punches. He's more active, and Munguia can punch. And Charlo's been listless lately in his fights because he can't make the weight and be under full strength. So I definitely like Charlo. I definitely like Munguia in that fight if they're ever going to fight.
Yeah, I was thinking because I thought Triple G had one more fight on his DAZN contract, but apparently I guess he doesn't because he said he's done with DAZN. But I was hoping that after the Canelo fight he could come back down and then maybe they could make the Munguia fight. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I mean, to me that seems like a good fight
Well,
for
he might
Munguia,
be done with the zone with the Eddie Hearn deal, but that doesn't mean he can't jump ship to Oscar and go fight Manguia. So keep that in
Okay.
mind too. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
No, that makes sense. Yes, and I see those are the things that I just don't know about.
Yeah.
That's why I
No,
got
I
someone like
understand.
you here, Rick.
Thank you.
So we can get the answers on that type of stuff. So yeah, the middleweight division has been absolute trash. Another trash division that we have right now. And you know what's more sad about it, Rick, is that these are the traditional divisions. Some of the original 8 divisions in boxing.
Mhm.
147 pounds welterweight. My God, so much inactivity. The guys have all the belts. They're holding the whole division hostage. Rick, I have not made any videos on Earl Spence and Terence Crawford because it's not a fight yet. But I'll ask you, what in the world is going on there? Why can't we get this fight done?
Because Terence Crawford has a trust issue with, and it's a worthy trust issue. In other words, he's correct. He doesn't want to trust Al Heyman to divvy up the money and say, "Hey, this is your 35%," and not have any transparency in the expenses, the gross revenues and the net revenues, and that's what he's asking for. And he's not wrong. He's not getting a purse; he's getting a percentage, and he's entitled to all those things.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it's frustrating because this fight has been talked about for about, geez, I don't know. I'm going to say at least 5 years.
Since
And
2018.
yeah, I mean, this is awful. Like, look, I understand the business of milking fights, or should I say marinating fights, but like, is this fight really that big to where we need to
No,
wait this
no,
many years?
no,
Like,
no.
no, it's gonna.
It won't do over 550,000 homes on pay-per-view.
I
Okay,
agree. I
so
don't
it's
think it
not
does
as
that.
big as they think. It doesn't
Yeah,
bring a lot of money, and if two Americans fighting each other is not going to bring, unless it's in the heavyweight division, is not going to bring a lot of money in foreign TV sales. Does It's going to bring shit, and it's going to be in Vegas, and whatever. But it's not the gross handle people think it is. Whether it's pay per view, the gate, the foreign TV revenue, all the revenues added up, it's just not what people think it's going to be.
yeah. A couple
You know,
questions here from the chat for you, Rick. We
sure,
got Troy Williams here says, "Does Oscar have the money to sign Triple G?" I
yeah, of
mean,
course he
I
does,
would I would think he
absolutely,
does. Yeah,
100%. Well, who's
yeah.
talking about signing Triple G? Oh, you mean the fight? I'm
Munguia.
sorry, the fight. Yeah, my
Yeah.
fight. Of course he does. Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, Oscar, he's he's good at making money. I know that. Okay, another question
Right.
here. Jesus M, one of my really good subscribers here, he asks, Rick, why does Canelo continue to devalue David Benavidez at 168? His title win versus Durrell and slamming David's resume at 168.
Because he hasn't fought anybody. Number one, which he hasn't, and Canelo's looking to fight people of different demographics to be able to draw the people. In other words, a white guy, a black guy, and stuff like that. And he's dipping into the same base, and he's not going to be able to make those big bucks because you're not drawing from different demographics when you're fighting another Mexican or Mexican American.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he hasn't fought Zordo. That's why he hasn't fought this guy, because it's the same demographic base. Mexican nationals and Mexican Americans. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's you got to have mixed matches.
okay. I'll say this: being that Canelo has already cleaned up the division, he's collected all the belts. Who else could he possibly fight at 168? I know he said he wants
Well,
to
there's a
fight
lot of,
Bivol.
excuse me for interrupting. There's a lot of emerging talents over there in the UK, for starters. Number one, a lot of emerging talents that he could make good money with if he went over there. John Ryder, but now John Ryder is fighting Zach Parker. He'll be able to make a big purse with Zach Parker,
Oh, okay.
who's
That I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, they made that fight today. Well, last night I should say. Yesterday, I should say. And Zach Parker versus, that's a WBO interim title, and the winner is going to be mandatory for Canelo. So if he fights the winner of that fight, whether it's Zach Parker or John Ryder, that's a big fight in the UK. So there's plenty of people that he can make money with as as we go forward here. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I personally, I would love to see the Benavidez fight. I think it would be a great action-packed fight. Benavidez is a guy he's going to be right there. He's not going to be too defensive. He doesn't mind letting the hands go. It's a fight that I'm just dying to see. I don't know if it'll happen. I hope, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Got a few more questions here for you in the chat, Rick. Let's see. Troy Williams is asking about the Spence Crawford situation. He says, "Is Spence getting a guaranteed purse or a percentage like Crawford?"
He must be getting the 65% because the Crawford's getting 35 reputedly, but there's just no fight, so they can't agree. I think Al Heyman's throwing these roadblocks up intentionally because he doesn't want to fight. I've always felt that way, and I
There's a
think
lot of
these are
people
just
that feel that way
roadblocks
too.
he's throwing up. The transparency is, I mean, if Arum was partner in the deal and got 35% of the thing, what's his name would be having to give Arum all the numbers? Why isn't Crawford entitled to it?
Right, right. Now it makes sense. Another question here from Carl Hunter Hansen says, does Rick think the signing of Kid Austin by Golden Boy was a good move? I think it was, and they're happy with the move. But I'll let you go ahead and answer that, Rick.
Well, I worked with those people for a very short period of time, and their father tendered me a contract to sign as their advisor, and I didn't sign it, and I effectively resigned. I sent him a resignation letter that he accepted, even though I hadn't signed the contract. I just wanted to make it official. I didn't like being ordered around by the father like I was a stuck pig, and I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I think my experience, my reputation, and my knowledge and expertise in the game, far surpasses Mr. Floyd Schofield Sr.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need him telling me what to do. That ain't happening this lifetime or the next. You don't hire an advisor so you could tell him what to do. You're supposed to listen to the advisor, not the advisor listen to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
I had to resign. I think it was a good move for Golden Boy because they need fighters on that lower platform on the developmental level. So I think it's a good move. It's a good weight class. The kid's 35. The kid's a strong kid. He's got a nice future in front of him. My worry about the kid is if once he gets in with some badass Mexican or he hits him with those 2-piece combos, 3-piece combos, and nothing happens. The guy just keeps grunting and walking forward. I don't know what the kid can do. Then at that point in time, we haven't seen that yet, but we'll see
yeah.
that maybe
Oh
2 years from now. We won't see
oh
it for
yeah,
now.
yeah. I think
So
Golden Boy,
he's
they're gonna.
the kid's a good kid. The kid's a good kid, nice kid, but too led around by the father, and I don't know. I think the father is one of those kind of guys that if he was a mortician, or people would stop dying.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you. As far as Kid Austin goes, I think he's definitely got a bright future. And look, I like Golden Boy. I think they do a really good job of growing fighters. I spoke with Roberto Diaz before, and I think he's one of the best matchmakers in the game. So I think that they're going to build his career really, really nicely. Another question here from Troy Williams in the chat. He says, are the UK fighters even marketable for the American public for a Canelo pay-per-view?
Well, what they lack in American audience, they do huge money in foreign TV revenues, whether it's the UK, Ireland, whether it's all over the place over there. They bring in huge dollars to offset any loss. And most guys that fight from the UK, their purse is based on what they bring in TV revenues. So it's almost like getting a free fighter too. The fight Canelo, almost like. So it's got a lot of advantages to it. A lot of advantages to it.
Yes, yes, sir. Um, I'll ask this. There's a little bit of, I guess we could call it a little bit of breaking news from what I've seen. Um, Floyd Mayweather has just announced that he's going to be fighting somebody named Dejai or something like that. I don't know who this guy is. He's some sort of social media influencer. He's going to be fighting this guy over in, I believe, Dubai. And the fight, funny, is going to be on the Zone of all things. Rick, what do you make of Floyd Mayweather fighting over there on the Zone, where Leonard Ellaby has been very vocal about Eddie Hearn in the Zone? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the fight's got nothing to do with Eddie Hearn, I don't think. I don't think it's an Eddie Hearn deal. But they've been downplaying the Zone, that it's it's the dark zone and dead zone and all this shit.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a worldwide app. It's not dependent on the United States. And people have missed that point, including Mr. Ellerby. Mr. Ellerby thinks that the world of boxing revolves around the United States and Dubai and the UAE over there. He doesn't understand that boxing is a worldwide sport and worldwide business, and he's just a confused guy. So he should spend more time picking out clothes and stuff like that than he should be in boxing, because he's a hell of a dresser, but he ought to stay there. And he's got more expertise. He's got more expertise in dressing himself than he does in professional boxing. So there's your answer.
That's hilarious. We have a comment here for you, Rick. He says, Drummond for Life says, Rick, so glad you're getting involved in the YouTube community. A lot of people might not appreciate where you've been and what you've done. 2022 going great. Are you excited with the new undisputed era? I am. I know that. I'm glad that we're getting a lot of unifications, but yeah, Rick is definitely doing his part here in the community. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, you know what? I'm a guy who's always evolved. You don't stay in boxing unless you evolve with the times. I enjoy, I always say the business of professional boxing is my business and livelihood, and talking boxing is my hobby, on social media or writing, Twitter, Facebook, posting pictures on Instagram, whatever it is. I enjoy it. It's fun. I interact with people every day, and keeps me sharp. And I get some ideas from people. I get ideas from people what they want to see. So that's important,
Yes.
you can judge value sometimes on what for pay-per-view or the demand for a fight by how much people are talking about it. And the hits that something gets, and you can just tell. You can just it's big, So it's just the way it is.
Yep. Guys, we got 24 people watching live. Actually, 25 now. I need 25 likes. All right. I know there's probably going to be a few that don't do it because there's a couple of hate watchers that are probably watching. But
Oh
those
my
of you who are
God, those
not, hit the
rotten
like button.
bastard cocksuckers! Jesus Christ, what are those? Come on, snap that like button. It doesn't
That's
cost
right.
you anything.
That's
Where do you
right,
get this
Rick.
kind of entertainment for free? God damn it!
That's right, Rick. Outlaw here has a question for you. He wants me to ask you, what do you think of a potential of Showtime folding their boxing, and what's next for the PBC? And he says, I think it's the beginning of the end.
I think it is too. I think that unless Steven Espinoza, they're gonna fold up Showtime altogether, not just the boxing, everything, and they're gonna switch everything over to. They're gonna switch some of the content that Paramount wants over to Paramount, over their Paramount app, because it's all both owned by CBS, and they're gonna down Showtime. And I don't know if they bring the boxing over. If they don't, if they do, I don't know if Espinoza is going to run it. If Espinoza doesn't run it, then Heyman's screwed. So there may be no boxing, There may be
Mm,
boxing with Espinoza or out. So there's 2 out of 3 chances that Heyman could be out in the new in the new era here of Paramount Showtime going to Paramount.
mm, man, that's
And there's
big.
also another issue that maybe there's $100,000 limit per show or 500,000 limit per show, so you're not going to get big championship fights. So there's,
Wow.
you might get a flyweight fight or a bantamweight fight or to a 122-pound fight or something like that, but you're not going to get the heavyweights and the bigger bouts and everything else like that. So we don't know what they have in store. We really don't know. Everything's a guess. But don't forget one thing: the reputation of CBS, and I'm talking about conservative. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about financial. The overall politics, overall financial picture over the years at CBS has been conservative. So I don't think they're going to go and spend on the new Paramount a lot of money. Don't forget now, Showtime was a pay-per-view. I'm sorry, is a premium pay cable network, so they're paying big bucks.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be different. It's going to be a younger audience because it's going to be streaming. The executives are going to be younger with Paramount than they were at the Showtime. And I think it's going to reversely affect anything Heyman's done, whether they do boxing at all, whether Espinoza's there, and how much they pay out. So I think there's a threefold factor there.
Got you. Got you. I want to ask another question here about some fights we got this weekend because we have a
Don't
loaded
ask me about
weekend.
those women fights. I don't know one woman from the next that I don't want to know unless they're wearing high heels.
I
Okay,
got you. I got you. No sweat. No
high
sweat.
heels, high heels, and free. Keep going.
Let's talk about the top ranked card over in Australia that's going to be happening, which will be Sunday for them, but over here in the States it'll be Saturday night. Devin Haney rematching George Kambosos for undisputed at lightweight.
Okay, here's my prediction.
Sure.
I think that Haney slaps him around again. It'll go the distance again, and it'll be just as one-sided as the first fight, if not more one-sided, because Haney's the better athlete and he can make more adjustments than the other guy can, because the other guy is not the athlete and doesn't have the speed and the agility and the athletic ability that Haney has. So I think Haney will do better even in this fight than he did the previous time.
Mm. Yeah, I'm thinking that Haney's probably going to win again. Um, I thought that the fight was going to be competitive the first time around, and I felt like George would get some home cooking. I mean, we've seen some pretty bad
Nah,
decisions go down over in
no, Aram
Australia.
and Bob Aram. I teach you something.
Sure, sure.
Lou DiBella had the other fighter. Aram had Haney. Aram went over there. Okay, 91 years old. He'll be 91 this coming. So he's 90 years old. He flew all the way to Australia with his guys, Brad Jacobs, and Carl Moretti. Bob Arum didn't fly there to have Haney lose. He even went there because it was a show of strength for him, and that's why he went. So there's your answer right there. How are you?
Got you, got you. Yeah, I just remember seeing Pacquiao go there and lose, and I was like, wow, that's that's
Yeah,
pretty
let me
big,
just say something. I love Teddy Atlas. Pacquiao didn't win that fight. I don't care what anybody says. He did not win that fight. The other guy won 7 out of 12 rounds. I'll leave it like that.
All right, all right. So I'll ask you this now that you've given me your prediction. So I'll ask you for another prediction. Hypothetically, if Haney wins, he'll remain the undisputed champion. What do you think Top Rank does with him? Because he's got one more fight left, right, on his deal with them. So what do you think he does
No,
with the
I think it was the championship fight and 3 other fights. So I don't know if is one. I'm not really sure about that. It might be
Okay.
2 more fights after that. I'm not sure. Because
Okay.
obviously I'm not reading the contract. But you know what? Whether it's 2 or 3 fights, I think they're going to get him to sign a longer deal, and they're going to start making, putting up big money to fight him, and he'll fight other champions and stuff like that. And I think he's going to stay with them. He's getting a lot of PR on ESPN, and he wasn't getting shit on the Zone. and I think he's getting more well known, and I think he likes it, and I think they're going to stay with. I would think they're going to stay with Top Rank, especially got an office right there in Vegas. The
Yeah.
father and the kid live in Vegas. I don't see why Top Rank's got a gym in Vegas. There's no reason why should leave Top Rank. That's a very nice soft setting for him.
No, I agree 100%. I think to me, his exposure has gone through the roof since in just one
Yep.
fight with Top Rank. And they're
Uh-huh.
going to do it again this Saturday. And look, there's a lot of good fights for him there. We had Shakur Stevenson, who is going to move up
Oh,
now to be
yeah, but
135.
they're not gonna want to fight Shakur Stevenson. I think after this fight, he'll have one other fight, maybe at 130, 135, and he's gonna go up to 140. Because I think Josh Taylor after this coming fight is gonna move up to 147. So there you go.
Who do you think possibly they would match Haney up with one more fight at lightweight to defend those belts?
Well, I think they want to match him up with Lomachenko. That Lomachenko's fighting coming up here, so we'll see. But I don't know that to be a fact.
Yeah, I would love to see the Loma fight. There was a lot of narratives that were created 2 years ago here on YouTube about how Lomachenko ducked Devin Haney to get the franchise
Well, I
belt and
know the
all that type
real
of stuff.
story. I know the real story. He didn't duck him. It wasn't
Well,
like that at all.
well, let us know,
I know
Rick,
the
if you
guy.
don't mind.
I know the guy. I know the guy that I'll just leave it like this. Neither guy ducked either guy. Okay? That's the truth. Neither guy ducked either guy.
I
Okay? And
agree. Yeah.
it was brokered. The deal was brokered by a friend of mine from New York City, very well known guy in boxing, and there was no ducking. Just either party didn't think they were ready for the fight. In other words, that it was a big enough fight yet. And Loma didn't need to fight him, and Haney didn't need to fight him, and they just went away on their own separate way. I blame no one for that.
Yeah. And the WBC also created a huge
Well,
mess
that they
with
did.
that belt.
They messed up with because they made Haney one champion, they made Loma another, and then Loma lost to Tiafimo, and who's the champ? Who's it's like this final, like the great line, who's on first base? The guy never ran the second. They're both standing there. You know what I mean? So there you go. What's this
Yeah.
thing? What's this guy say? What if G Funk? What's this guy saying?
Oh, that's just somebody that's from my city, Aaron Parker. He says, "What it do, G
Oh,
Funky, my Sacktown brother."
no, there you
Yes,
go.
sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Rick. I don't. I've been saying this for a long time. Fighters aren't afraid to fight. They'll fight. Other things get in the way
Correct.
of things happening.
Are you from Sacramento?
Yes, I am.
Oh, Elk Grove, that next door. That's where Carl Larson's from, the NASCAR champion.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
but they screwed him last week. He's not going to be the champion this year, but still, great driver, all time great driver, superstar in the dirt, superstar midget sprint cars, dirt super late models. It doesn't matter what he's in, he's a winner.
That's right. That's right. My man Stefan here with a good comment. Another one of my good subscribers. He says Loma Haney is a great fight. I hope it happens. It will be great for Haney's resume. Absolutely. Absolutely. If he was to beat Lomachenko, that would be huge for him. I think it's a tough fight for Haney, though. I'll say the last time we seen him in with the Southpaw was Jojo Diaz, and I thought that fight was very close, in my opinion. Some people might
Good
disagree
fight.
with me, but I
It was
thought
a
it
good
was a
fight.
good fight. Yeah, really good fight.
Yep.
So again, he was a southpaw, and Lomachenko is, in my opinion, a much better southpaw than Jojo Diaz. No disrespect to Jojo. I like Jojo. He's an Olympian, but he's not as good as Lomachenko. I'll just leave it at that. So, man, there was something else I wanted to ask you, Rick. Now I just slipped my mind. But anybody in the chat, if you guys want to ask Rick a question, he's going to be here for another 20 minutes. That it's all, like I said, it's already Friday morning for him. Okay, so and also Major Key, who's in the chat, he's here on an early Friday morning too. Appreciate you being here. He said, "Did we find out what Rick thinks about Floyd trying to be a scapegoat for PBC to direct attention away from the facts?" I don't know what that means. You know what he's talking about there?
He's talking about the public statement that Floyd made that they ain't fighting right now, and it'll be made eventually, and all this bullshit. Floyd tried to Heyman sent Floyd out to the media world and tried to just to soft talk it and everything else. It's all bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. He's also been saying things like the fight's not official until I say it's official. Like, what is that about? Is he
It's
the
all
new
he's just
spokesperson or what?
being being a jerk off, trying to put himself in the attention like he always does with these exhibitions and all this bullshit, these interviews and stuff like that. So you either retired or you're not. If you're fighting exhibitions, you're not retired. Don't tell people you're retired, but then go off and fight exhibitions.
Right, right. Okay, here's what I remembered now because we have a unification fight, I believe. Or no, wait a minute, I don't think we do. Bivol is going to be fighting Zerto Ramirez here in about a month. For some reason I thought Zerto had a belt, but I don't think he does.
No, he
Um,
had a WBO one super middleweight belt, but he never fought for the WBA super middleweight belt.
yeah. Um, Now, I've heard Bob Arum say a few times that he does not want to work with the zone to make Bivol better beef. Why do you think that is, Rick? Because that's a fight I would love to see at 175
because
pounds.
because Bob wants all the rights. Bob wants to control it. And Bob's not wrong.
Hmm.
That's
But do you
that's
think?
how it works.
But do you think that that's good for boxing? Because that's a competitive, really good fight, man. And I think
Yeah,
fight fans would love
they'll
to see
they'll
that.
hammer it out. They'll give Bob will take the North American rights. Bob will take the Russian country, what they call Eastern European countries, and then he'll give Eddie Hearn, he'll give Eddie Hearn the UK and Ireland or some friggin' deal like that worked out. Maybe not, maybe not,
Yeah, I would
but
love
they'll
to
work
see
it
that.
out. They'll work it out. They'll work it out.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous fight at light heavyweight. Both of those guys really, really good, and it would be a tremendous matchup in my opinion. Troy here, I'm glad you brought this up, Troy, because now I remembered I wanted to ask Rick about the heavyweight situation as well. But he brings up, what do you think AJ goes from here after his loss to Usyk, and how does he recover from that?
Well, he's gonna fight a soft touch coming up. They're just deciding on the soft touch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I, I'm going to tell you something weird. He's been very brilliantly promoted. He's been very poorly managed.
Mm,
I'm talking about AJ.
yeah.
Very, very poorly managed. I told Eddie Hearn. I wrote him an email when he was thinking when Miller failed the drug test, Big Baby. I told him go fight Don King's guy. He just lost to Daniel Dubois, whatever. Trevor Bryan,
Yeah.
and he didn't listen to me. And the rest is history. Andy Ruiz knocked him out, and then he had to overpay Al Heyman and then Ruiz for the rematch. They shook him down for $4 million more.
Ooh.
Just all bullshit. Eddie
Mm.
the kid's poorly managed, but he was great. He's been greatly promoted. So
Yeah.
Eddie's basically the de facto manager, the 258 management there. They ain't real swift. And I'm not saying they're not swift, but they're not. Eddie's basically calling the shots, and so I say he's been well promoted, but very very poorly managed.
No, it makes sense because he's definitely a draw over there in the UK. So
Yep.
I'll ask you this now, since we're on the heavyweights, we got what looked like some possible clarification at the top of this division. Then Tyson Fury throws a monkey wrench in the program and retires after his knockout of Dillian White, which I predicted in the 6th round via uppercut. Give myself a little pat on the back. Uh, but he's been saying that he wanted to fight Joshua. Usyk was rumored to be a fight that could happen Super Bowl weekend. And then now we're hearing possible Emmanuel Char. Now that's out the window. And then now there's Chisora for a third
Yeah,
time.
he's definitely fighting Tesora. That's a done deal.
Okay. Wow. That's I mean, look, I like Chisora. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't like Chisora. I think he's a fun fighter and he'll fight, he'll go in there and give it his all. But Why? Like, I mean,
We
those
don't,
two
we
fights,
don't,
they
we
weren't
don't. This
competitive.
is the best way to put it. It doesn't mean it's not a good fight. We just don't need to see it for a third time.
Yes, yes, that's kind of my point. Like, I'm the type of guy, Rick, where if a fight's not competitive, like I don't need to see it again. You know. Now we have close fights that were really good, and we got fans back and forth about who won. Then yeah, hell yeah, let's see it again. We could run that thing back. But if it's not close, like I just have no interest in it. I mean, I'll watch it because I love watching boxing, but it's definitely not what I want to see. So what about Usyk now? Do you think that they could possibly get undisputed at heavyweight?
I think it's a good possibility for next spring. I think
Mm,
that's why Tyson Fury's fighting now. And Tyson Fury is going to take less than his normal money. He'll take a small flat fee, and then he'll work on a percentage. And I think that this is why he's fighting to keep active. And then he's going to fight Usyk come next spring, I believe, unless Joshua. See, it's a funny thing. This was really weird to say. Okay, very weird. But whether Joshua lost or not, Fury and Joshua is still bigger than Fury and Usyk.
mm-hmm.
So I think that Joshua versus Fury will probably happen before Fury, because Fury can make more money fighting Joshua,
Oh yeah.
and also the risk isn't there fighting Usyk of losing. I'm not saying he won't win Fury, but he'll have a better chance to beat Joshua, a lot
Joshua.
better chance than he would beat Fury. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I think Fury's got a really good chance to beat Usyk, but my
No,
rule
he
on this,
does. He
yeah,
does. But I
my
think he's got a
rule,
much better chance of beating AJ.
yeah, my rule on this channel is I don't like to predict fights that aren't made, but I
Right.
mean, I do think that Fury's got a good chance of winning that one. I'll ask you about a few more heavyweights. We got a heavyweight fight this weekend. Deontay Wilder's making his return against Robert Helenius. But I'll ask you about another heavyweight who's on the undercard, and I'm waiting to see this guy get a crack at somebody, some contender
Frank
in the near
Sanchez.
future.
Frank
Yes,
Sanchez, right? Yeah.
yes. I want to
Um,
know what's taking so long with this guy. I'm ready to see him get in there with somebody in the top 10,
well,
Rick.
you want me to explain it to you?
Sure.
Let me spell it for you. AL, and then a separate word, Haymon.
Rick coming with the jokes tonight.
He,
I love it.
he's the minute he's the minister of inactivity. Um, he is just, I don't know.
So you
He
think
just
he's holding up Frank's career? I mean, look, there's heavyweights on the PBC side that he could fight. Um, it's frustrating, man, because I think Frank Sanchez is a good heavyweight. You know?
if I had Frank Sanchez and I was Al Heyman, I'd have him on 6 times a year.
Yes. Why not?
Yep, why not?
With the guys
Exactly.
he's fighting, why the hell not? Like he's fighting Carlos Negron, who look.
If
I think
Carlos
Frank Sanchez is
Grown
going to do away
owed
with this
me
guy
money,
quick.
if
Oh.
Carlos Grown owed me money, I might be a prohibitive favorite.
Yeah, he's not very fundamentally sound. I broke down that fight yesterday on my Wilder Helenius prediction show. I think Frank Sanchez is going to get rid of him quickly. I do. Um, he's just not very good. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't like to call fighters bums or anything, but like if there was a minor
No,
league,
no, 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 no.
he would be
Let's
in the
not call
minor
him a
leagues.
bum. Let's because a bum is not ability. A bum is a guy who doesn't give 100% of himself and doesn't try to win and doesn't come in the best shape. That's a bum. You know what
Yes.
this is?
What?
This is a no hoper.
Yeah, yeah, it is. He's going to win, and I think he's going to win convincingly. Another fight on the undercard this Saturday, that pay-per-view. Caleb Plant makes his return after losing his belt to Canelo. He'll be taking on Anthony the Dog Durrell. Now, I think this is the first time that Plant's going to be in with a southpaw. Not 100% sure. But what do you think Darrell's chances are of pulling an upset here, Rick? Do you think he's got a shot?
Well, I don't think much of Plant, but I think that Darrell's way, way, way on the back nine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yep.
I think so too. And
Hmm.
Plant made a good point at the press conference the other day where he said that every time Darrell's got his chance in a big fight, he's come up short. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? He's right. He's right. And then now, like you said, on the back nine, yeah, I think he could give Plant some good work though. But I do expect Plant to win by unanimous decision in that fight. Now we'll ask you, and I'm gonna ask Rick what he thinks about Wilder and where he goes from there. Guys, we got 10 minutes here. You guys can come ask Rick any question you want, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up. But Rick, I'm pretty sure you think Wilder's gonna win this Saturday, right?
Well, I do think he's going to beat Hellenius, but if he's shot and he's got no punch resistance and he's wore out from the beat downs, you get beat down for 19 rounds over 2 fights. You get knocked out both times. The last fight being a face plant, and you're down as many times as he was over those 2 fights. And then when he wasn't down, he was getting hit with punches. I mean, he can't be the same fighter. If he is the same fighter, he wins easy. If he's 25% less than he used to be, he's in trouble.
Yeah, I factored that into my prediction yesterday. Those are the questions will get answered in the ring. We don't know for sure,
Correct.
If
Correct.
he is shot, Hellenius could be trouble, but I'm thinking Wilder should be able to beat him. But where do you think? Let's just say Wilder is Wilder, right? And he gets rid of him fairly easily. Where do you think they go from here, Rick?
I don't know. I mean, he probably ends up fighting Andy Ruiz. I would
Mm,
think.
I like that fight. Yeah.
I would think, but we'll see.
I like that fight. I think that would be. Do you think that would be a good fight? And I mean,
It's a
I'm
fun.
pretty sure it's going to be on pay per view.
It's a fun fight. Yes, it's a fun fight. No question
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah, I agree. And it will most likely be on pay per view. Don't forget, we're
Yeah.
talking
Oh
about
yeah.
the PBZ here. All right. But yeah, I think it will be definitely a fun fight. My boy Jesus M here is asking. I cannot read this guy's last name, but whoever David Morrell is fighting. I know they just announced him fighting someone. I don't know who this guy is, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Do you know who he's fighting next, Rick?
No, I didn't even pay. Who pays attention? What's his? Oh yeah, that guy can fight a little bit.
Okay,
That guy.
I'm gonna have to,
That guy's not bad. I know that
I'm gonna have to
Russian
do
guy.
some
He's not
research.
bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do
He's
some
not bad.
research on him.
Yep.
Um, I like Morrell. I think he's suffering from his little thing that I like to say, Rick. I call it the pre-anointing syndrome. We get that a lot with fighters who look sensational against, let's just say, like you said, setups, no hopers, and then guys get excited, and then when they step up in competition, we see something different sometimes. A good example of that would be someone like El Rayo Valenzuela, who just got beat by De Los Santos, got knocked out. That was a
Yep.
guy who was pre-anointed, who was going to beat everyone. He wasn't afraid of everyone, and then he gets knocked out. And I'm not saying his career is over or anything like that, but it's just one of those things where, like, let's see him fight somebody first before we start calling this guy great and all these other things. The
Yeah. The
boogeyman
next
in the
great thing.
division.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right about that.
Yes, sir. Troy Williams here is asking you, Rick, when are you going to go back to Fresno? That's kind of a random question, but I mean, have you been to Fresno before, Rick?
Reluctantly, I admit I have been.
I got family in Fresno.
G-Funk.
So,
G-Funk. Let me run this by you.
Sure.
I'm a city guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You fly into town and you're looking at a friggin' tractor, a brand new John Deere tractor in the middle of the airport, inside the thing for sale. Okay, call your local John Deere dealer. This is for sale. You can buy it at such and such a place. Here's the first little card on the thing. Take a business card. I mean, I'm not used to this. You fly in the Buffalo airport, they got BMWs and Mercedes sitting there in the side the airport for sale. You got a tractor, a John Deere tractor, green and yellow thing. Come on
Oh
now.
man,
And
Rick,
I
I
know
just
it's an agricultural center,
yes,
but come on,
yes.
at the airport, a friggin' tractor inside the airport. Come on
I was
now,
I was just gonna
please.
tell you I was just gonna tell you that, Rick. Here in the Central Valley in California, this is where a majority of the produce that goes in this country is grown and shipped out of,
Listen,
so
listen. That's respected, but
yes.
that doesn't mean you're supposed to put a tractor in the middle of your friggin' airport.
Oh man, you I gotta give a shout out to my people out in Fresno. Love you guys. All right. My family came from the fields when they came to California back in the
So
early
somebody
1900s.
somebody
So
asked me what I liked about Fresno the most. I s-
yeah.
I said looking at it in my rearview mirror as
Oh
I went to
man.
the airport in car service.
Rick, I want to ask you, I just thought of something since we got five
Yeah.
minutes left here. We're seeing cryptic messages from Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Is there any possibility that this fight happens, or are they just jerking our chains
Well,
again?
it depends if he gets convicted. I mean, how are they going to fight January 7th when his trial starts December 10th or December 12th? It just makes no sense. How do you plan a fight? I mean, is he going to get the trial delayed? I mean, the judge already ruled that he couldn't go for reduced charges and he wasn't going to guarantee him no jail time. Now he's going to have a trial. It doesn't sound good from the judge, does it to you?
No, no, it doesn't.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unfortunately for Tank Davis, yeah, he's got some legal problems coming up.
Wow,
We'll
what a
see what
shock, huh?
happens. Unfortunately, yeah, he's been involved in numerous things. Hopefully, the young guy gets himself together.
He's like Adrian Broner 2.0.
Yeah, and Broner's trying to make a comeback. I guess we'll see what happens there. Jesus M here says, Rick Pedraza may pull a huge upset versus Tiafimo. Now, before you answer that question, I'll ask you a question: is that fight done, or are they
Oh yeah.
just waiting to announce it? It's a done deal.
No,
Okay.
no. Top Rank's got both fighters, so it's done. If they want to make it happen, they're making it happen.
Okay. Do you think that Pedraza can pull an upset in that fight?
Well, he's capable, but probably not.
Yeah. I think he's tricky, definitely. He's tall, he's rangy, he can switch to southpaw, and he boxes very well, you know? Um,
He's smart.
so
He's a smart fighter.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't mind the fight. I mean, it's not the fight that I wanted, obviously, but guys are tied up. I mean, look, Zepeda is going to be fighting Regis Prograis, which I think is a fantastic fight. It looks like Taylor and Catterall is gonna happen. I don't know, Rick. Is that gonna happen or what? I have not heard any official announcement.
I heard it's going to happen.
Okay, that's
It's going
good
to
because
happen. It's going to be happen over there, over in the UK.
okay, because that's a fight that was controversial. A lot of people felt Catterall won that fight, so that's definitely worthy of a rematch, in my opinion. Um, let's see here. Boxing Vital says I was told by a PBC insider no Tank Garcia for January.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense at all. Let me ask you a question. Isn't there football NFL playoffs then, or like the regular season where they play on Saturdays on that last? Don't they have bowl games in football? I mean, it just doesn't sound feasible.
Right. No, it sure doesn't.
Yeah.
And they would be crazy to try to go up against the NFL because here in the United States, NFL is king when it comes to sports ratings. That's for
Yeah, we
sure.
found that out. We found out there with Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz, 52,000 homes on pay per view. They went up against the San Diego I mean, not San Diego. They went up against Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. That wasn't one of his. That wasn't one of their brighter moves. That's for sure.
No, you're absolutely right about that, Rick. And look, they haven't even came out with official numbers. I know you just said it did 52,000. Um, are they ever gonna tell us what these numbers are? I mean, we're gonna find Jimmy Hoffa before we find these Tank Cruz numbers, right?
No, it was 52,000 homes. They know it. They know I got the numbers. That's why. See, what they do is they don't announce numbers. You notice they float them to the media,
Right,
because they
right.
know I got the real numbers. They know that. They know I got the numbers for years. That's why they're all afraid. I called out the line on Espinoza on the fight with The Haitian kid from Florida fighting Mayweather, whatever his name was, Andre Berto.
Oh
And
yeah.
ever since then, they don't put out the pay-per-view numbers because they knew I had the real numbers. They know what the real numbers are, and they know my number, and they know it's the real numbers. So they know I got the numbers on them. So they just flow phony shit to the media, and the media eats it right up. They believe this shit that they put out those fucking phony numbers. What can I
Yeah.
tell you? You know
One
what
more
I mean?
question. One more question
No,
from the chat
listen, G
here.
Funk. If you want to go to another 21 minutes, I'm up for it, G Funk. It's you, my man. It's not like you have me on once a week. You have me on once a year, for Christ's sake. Come on,
Nah, I was just again, I was just trying to be considerate to
punch
you,
those
Rick. I know
like buttons. Punch those like buttons. Come on now, God damn
that's
it!
right. That's right. Rick says
It
he's willing to
costs
go
nothing to
overtime,
punch a
guys.
like button. Put that effort in. Punch that like button for G Funky.
Hey, Suzanne was asking Ryan versus Sandor Martin in December. Hopefully, what do you think is a possibility of that happening?
If he's gonna serious about fighting Tank in January, how come Ryan Garcia is fighting Sandor Martin in December? Come on now. But Sandor Martin's left-handed, and so is Tank, so it sort of makes sense if you're building up to a Tank fight and you're getting ready for a Tank fight. So it makes sense, especially
Yes.
because Sandor Martin holds a win over Mikey Garcia in his last big fight,
Yeah. Yes.
retired Mikey. So that would make sense.
Yeah, definitely. And he just fought a southpaw in Javier Fortuna and
Oh
knocked
yeah.
him out. Knocked him out. I thought that was a pretty impressive performance from Ryan, in my opinion. Boxing Vital says they float numbers to the nut huggers. I believe he's talking about PBC and their pay-per-view numbers.
Yeah, they float numbers to the press, and they float numbers to the new media, the YouTube guys, that are the LDBC members, the Haymanites, the Agenda Crew, the Wilderettes, and the Earl Sexuals.
Oh yes, the new media guys, they are
Did,
something
did I
else, Rick.
did I miss anybody?
No, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Blue blood, blue
Oh
blood.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
That's another guy there that
What he
just, I
knows
mean,
about professional boxing, you can write on a Matchbox cover, large yellow crayon. Oh my God.
yeah, I found his channel. I took a pretty good break from YouTube, and then I found his channel, and I actually subscribed to him for a little bit, but I just couldn't deal with the clickbait, man. I mean, it was just awful, and you could just tell what he was doing. Um, I'll ask you this, Rick, since we're not getting any other questions from the chat right now, but I'll ask you something with PBC. Um, they've had what seems like a pay-per-view every month this year. It seems like. Why on earth are they putting these fights that have no business being on pay-per-view, Rick?
Because they're trying to get whatever revenue they can get out of the fights by putting them on pay-per-view. Because Fox has a deal with PBC that they had to deliver them so many fights, and they don't want to put the money out through ads and use up prime time TV on Fox. And they're just going the pay-per-view route to get as much money back as they possibly can, even though they're losing money.
Mm, it's awful, man. I'll just say it. It's so expensive to be a
Yeah.
boxing fan these days. Like I'm paying $20 for DAZN. ESPN Plus just up theirs to $10 a month. I believe I'm paying $15 for Showtime.
Yeah,
And then
but in defense of the ESPN Plus app, you get MMA, you get the UFC fights, you
yeah,
get
yeah.
you get Major League Baseball, you get a lot of college football, you get hockey. There's a lot of stuff on there. It's not just boxing. You got MMA, you got a lot, UFC, you got a lot of shit on there. All the leagues are on there.
Yeah.
You got all those soccer leagues around the world on there. You got a lot of good shit on there. So
Yeah.
I I wouldn't complain about the $9 because that's a whole network. You're not just buying fights 3 times a month. You're getting a whole network for that. A lot of entertainment. Don't forget, there's a lot of articles on ESPN Plus that they don't put on the regular ESPN app. So you
No,
get
that's
really
true.
good.
Yeah.
You got in-depth articles on not only boxing but other sports, baseball especially, and football and stuff like that. So it's a lot better than you're giving it credit for, G Fuck. Now, come on, man.
No. I just for me, I mean, like what you all said is true. I
No,
agree with that. They also
you're
have the
going by you're going by what hits the wallet, how it hits your wallet, and I respect that. But it's not just 36 boxing shows a year. There's a lot of other shit on there, so
yeah,
that's
they
what you
do
got
have
to
a lot of
consider.
and the 30 for 30s and the
But let
documentaries
me
like the,
let me
yeah,
run this by you.
sure.
You're nobody's ever accusing you of stupidity, right? Okay, there's 30 days to a month. ESPN costs you 30 cents. What, $9 a month now? What is it?
Yeah.
9?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 30 cents a day for what's basically premium sports. What is wrong with that? You go out and spend $5 for a Corona, $6 for a Corona in a bar, and you don't think nothing of it. And if the broad's better looking, and she got bigger boobs, and she's not good and bad looking, you give her an extra dollar tip. Pay her 30 cents a day and be happy what you got.
No, I understand it. It's good bang for your buck for sure. But me personally, I don't have enough time to watch all those other
Well,
sports with
I
covering
get the
boxing.
pro I
Yeah.
get the pro box I get the pro box app. That's the best boxing app there is for the money. $1.99. You watch good earnest club fights, up and coming guys, and it's $1.99 a month. And you got Roy Jones, Paulie Malignaggi, Antonio Tarver on the English side, and on the Spanish side, I know you got Juan Manuel Marquez, and I think you got Cotto too. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure. I think maybe he's a special guy that they bring in here and there, but they're doing a nice job. That's $1.99 a month or $18 a year. I just paid $19 for a Caesar salad the other night. Okay. And here they're giving you all these boxing shows for $18 a year by the year, and that's what I pay. That's how I did. I don't get the $1.99 a month. I went for the $18, and it's replaced the Wendy's Dollar Frosty is the best buy in America, the biggest bargain in America. The ProBox
Yes,
app,
sir.
ProBox TV app. It's called ProBoxTV.com. $1.99 a month or $18 a year. Guys, get it. It's worth every penny. I love it. I
Yeah.
look forward to all the
Support
show fights that they have, and the
support
announcers are
boxing.
great. And they got a lot of shoulder programming during the week, like with Roy Jones and Tarver and Paulie Malignaggi having roundtable discussions and have guests in there and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It really is, guys.
Yeah, and it's good to support the smaller and smaller shows and things like that. I see some people in the chat are
Exactly.
asking about why aren't there any shows here in Northern California? And then Troy Williams says Thompson Boxing. Yes, Thompson Boxing puts on a lot of shows in California. They will be here next month. Hopefully, I'll be able to attend that event. I'm going to start doing more shows and covering more of their fights,
What's
talking
his
about
name?
more of their
Doesn't
fighters.
Paco Damien does shows up there, don't he?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
there you
doing
go.
an event on the 29th this month at an Indian casino here in Northern California. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's plenty to go. You just gotta, that, and that's why I feel like I'm gonna start covering more of those fights because I want to get it out there. Because that's really, the backbone of this sport, man, is the local shows,
Yep.
Jesus M is asking Rick, who would you match Virgil up with in December? Virgil Ortiz, I believe he's asking about.
Um, if he's
Good
fighting in
question.
December, yeah, I don't know. I have to think about David Azavanian would be the natural one. They were supposed to fight once before, and something
Hmm.
had it fell apart. But he'd be the natural one. He's in the top couple in the WBO and the WBA and the W. I think that all of them. I think.
Yeah.
Um, I think would say him would be one choice.
Alexis Rocha is
Um,
another guy too that he could possibly fight at 147 pounds.
no, Oscar's not doing that. He's a Roach is a good draw on his own. No,
Okay.
Oscar's not going to do that fight. There's not big enough yet. I mean, maybe 2 years from now when it's huge, but not
Mm,
now. Not big
okay.
enough yet.
I'm not sure if we covered this earlier, Rick, but another one of my good subscribers here, William Boxing, says, ask Rick what he thinks about Showtime's CEO resign and what that means for PBC. I think we talked about that earlier, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so just go ahead and play it back when we're done here, William. And so I think somebody asked that question already, and Rick answered that.
You
Um,
may have answered it. I think you may have asked it. I answered it, but I don't know if somebody called it in or not. I don't remember that, but
yeah, I think it was Major
I know I
Kickboxing.
answered it.
Yeah.
I know I answered it.
Yeah. Question here from Boxing Vitals. He says, "Ask Rick and what he thinks of Marv Nation promoting the Cepeda Prograis fight." Yeah, they kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I'm glad they did it because it's a good fight.
Yeah,
But what
but
are your thoughts on that?
they bid way too much money. I told people beforehand that 1.4 million would win the purse bid, and I was right because Tom Brown bid 1,200,000 and some 250,000 some, so I was right about that. He bid 2.4 million. I don't know what he was thinking, but I hope he does well. It's a great fight. I will be buying that fight. There's
Yes,
not
that's
even
a
a question of buying that fight. I think
yep.
that's what boxing is all about. Guys like that getting their opportunity. I mean, yeah, he was a 140-pound champ. Progress a few years ago, lost his title in 2019. Hell of
Hmm.
a fighter, and I'm excited for the fight for both fighters. I think it's going to be sensational.
Yes, me too.
I just hope the Marv Nation reaches out to other promoters and makes a good undercard. That's on TV because he's going to need it to draw pay-per-view buys.
Yes, yes. Since we're in the 140-pound division here with this fight, I'll ask you about my favorite fighter in boxing right now, Jose Ramirez. Um,
I have always liked him. I think he's a
yeah.
great kid. A great kid. He's an asset to the Valley area there, the
Hmm.
Central Valley area. He's a pillar of the community. Does a lot of volunteer work. Managed by very smartly by Rick Merigian, who's a friend of mine. I like Rick a lot. Good guy. Good guy. Real good guy. And I got nothing negative to say about Jose Ramirez. Zero. Good guy,
Yeah.
real good fighter, makes good fights, can't be in a bad fight. And he was a very good champion, and I hope he's champion again.
Same for me. And that's all the reasons you named outside of the ring to like this guy is exactly why I like him. And
Mhm.
like I said, my family grew up in that struggle here in California.
What
So that
struggle?
hits home.
What
With
struggle?
back when the farm workers were getting a lot of it's a deep story, but the Chicano movement with Cesar Chavez here in California in the
You're
60s, things
talking
like
about
that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you had
Yeah.
something to do with boxing right now. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, no, no.
I didn't know. Oh, yeah, yeah. I know about all that years ago. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that hits
Okay,
home with
I'm sorry.
me, you know. It
Yeah,
no, it's
and I
okay. It's
agree.
okay.
I agree. It should hit home for you. I was just confused. I thought you said about some struggle of boxing. Now I go, what are you talking about? Sorry
No,
about
no,
that,
no.
my friend.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But
No, definitely no disrespect to the people of the valley or your family, but living in for me, living in Fresno would be a struggle. But keep going.
no, no. I like I said, I have family that are in Fresno as well. So but no, I just want to ask what's next for him? He just came back. He beat Jose Pedraza earlier this year.
I think he's
Um
going to end up. I think he's going to end up with the winner. If if okay, let's assume for the sake of this conversation, let's assume Cepeda wins. He'll fight Cepeda.
mhm.
If Prograis wins, he probably won't fight till he's number one because Prograis with Pro Bellum, he's not with Top Rank. So he may not fight him until he's number one unless, Top Rank makes some kind of great offer. So we'll see, but he's aligned for big fights. He's a hell of a little fighter, great guy, draws big crowds in Fresno when he fights there. And there's nothing negative I would say about him. And I'll tell you another guy I like a lot as a person is a good little fighter. Not great, but a good little fighter, earnest guy. Arnold Barbosa Jr.
Mhm. Yeah.
Arnold's a good little fighter, makes fun fights. So there's some good fighters in that division right now that don't have world titles and that will, make great fights and they'll be in. I can you imagine? Can you imagine Jose Ramirez and Arnold Barbosa? That's sensational.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
That would
Boxing
be
Vitals
sensational.
Boxing Vitals says Jose is getting married in November. That's why he's not in the mix right now. Yeah, that's right. And I know that there were some guys on YouTube that were giving him shit for that. But look,
Listen,
I say it's
you
fine
can
to go get
never
married.
listen. A man is in love. Okay, the man either has kids, wants to have kids, and wants to have a legitimate relationship with a woman, marry her if for the kid's sake. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing. Taking a step back for 6 months and getting his personal life underway so he can either have kids or give the kid a father and mother relationship where they're husband and wife, and set a final example for his kids. So if he has kids now, so I got
Absolutely.
no problem with it whatsoever. Zero.
Me too. And I tell you this, Rick, I've been married 11 years, and that
Stop
was
complaining,
definitely
God damn it! Stop
definitely the
complaining.
yeah, definitely the happiest day of my life. And
I'm kidding you.
I would take my wedding over a fight any day of the week. All right.
Yeah, not, but
Jesus
not the
M.
cost. Not the
No,
cost.
no, that's for sure. Jesus M says, Rick, Bam Rodriguez versus Puma Martinez. Puma wants it. I say, let's go. Puma just beat Ancajas this Saturday. Is there a possibility that fight could happen? That's a cross promotion.
I don't know. I don't know. The little guys, it's easier to cross promote because there's not as much money in the little guys. And the only way
Hmm.
they can make big money in the promoters is if they fight somebody that's in a unification bout. So that's a possibility, yes. I think that what's his name? I think Bam Rodriguez is way, way, way too smart and slick for Martinez. Martinez is cock strong, very aggressive, but that play the aggressiveness plays into
To his
perfectly
hands.
into Bam's hands. I think Bam is great.
Me too. Me
I
too.
didn't
I
say
think
good.
he's
I said great. He's brilliant in the ring. Listen, there's no three people in boxing right now with higher ring IQs than Tyson Fury, Usyk, and Bam Rodriguez.
mm,
Everybody else is, if it was a car race, they'd be at the finish line at 500 miles. The other people would be making 50 laps. I'm telling you, it's a
would you
big difference. Those guys are their ring IQ is off the charts. All three of those guys.
add Terence Crawford to that list?
Um, I would say that he's a fourth, but I think he's a distant fourth in ring IQ. I think he's the best fighter in the world.
Hmm.
Okay. But I don't think in just ring IQ, I think those guys are ahead of even him. He's got a killer instinct. He can switch.
Yes.
He's got great hand speed. He's got agility with his feet. He's a great fighter. He's the best fighter of the four, but he doesn't have the ring IQ. Those guys. Listen, Bam Rodriguez and Usyk make a living in ring IQ.
Hmm. No,
That's
I
how. That's
agree.
their bread and butter.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You
agree.
know,
And both
Terrence
southpaws too.
doesn't. Terrence doesn't have to have Terrence, and so is Terence Crawford. Terrence doesn't
Yeah.
have to have a great ring IQ to win because and he throws very hard and he's fast. Bam and Usyk, they don't punch that hard. They're just brilliant guys, and they make you. There's a great line that I said years ago about Pernell Whitaker and Paul Spadafora, comparing them. Okay. And yeah, Whitaker's an all-time great. Spadafora, blew that up with the drug, the demons, but still
Yeah.
ended up 49 1-1 in his career. I once said, though I'm sorry, Pernell Whitaker and Paul Spadafora do not come to win a fight. They come to make you look bad. In the course of that, they win the fight.
Hmm.
Bam is the same way. Okay,
Yeah.
Bam and Bam is the same way. He makes
Yeah.
you look like a fuck. He makes you look like an idiot. Is what he? What, I don't mean you, G Funk, but as
Yes.
the
Yes.
other fighter, he makes you look like an idiot. In the course, he wins the fight, and that's that. And Usak's a little like that too. Okay, definitely a little like that. Now, even though Joe Kalsaki was great and he was a southpaw, he wasn't like that. He threw a lot of punches and was very aggressive and came forward.
Yeah.
So, but you look at Paul Spadafora and you look at Pernell Whitaker, and they won fight. They didn't come to win a fight. They came to make you look bad. In the course of the fight, they won. That's
And they
how they
sure
fight.
did. They sure did
Yep.
that too.
Yep.
Shout out to
Hmm.
Spadafora, man. That's a guy that not a lot of fans know about, but yeah, that's definitely a name from back in the day. I'll ask you one more question here, Rick. We'll go back to the 140 division now. You said that you think that it's a strong possibility that the rematch between Josh Taylor and Catterall, and then Taylor will probably move up to 147. Now, with him going up to 147, do you think he's gonna have the same problems Crawford did getting fights? What do you think
Well,
about that?
the first of all, they can fight each other, and it's a big fight. That's for
Hmm.
starters.
Yeah,
No, I don't think he's gonna have as much trouble getting because he brings a big foreign TV base over in the UK, not as big as some of the other fighters, but a bit, good revenue, and he's popular on ESPN over here. So I think he'll be just fine getting fights.
yeah.
Getting bigger fights.
Yeah, I hope you're right because it was frustrating when Crawford moved up. He did get a few good names, like I feel like his win over Jeff Horn was a little underrated at the time. He's just coming off of a win against Pacquiao. And I said it recently. My favorite welterweight right now is me Machine Kavalauskas because that guy will fight anybody, anywhere. I don't care that he took a loss from a few guys.
Why
He
did you
gives me
you know any
fights.
Eastern Europeans that don't fight like that? They all fight like that.
Right, right.
Ukrainians, Russians, all you Kyrgyzstanians, they all fight like that.
Yeah, and he's fought on all three major platforms. We've seen him on Top Rank, we've seen him on DAZN, we've seen him on PBC. He'll go anywhere, man.
Right.
Boxing Vitals here says Gfunky. This is why you need to have at least Rick on every 6 months. Look, I'll get Rico.
6 months.
I'm gonna get
The
him
guy
on
just
more often.
insulted me. 6 months. The guy just insulted me.
Rick's a very busy guy, but he definitely makes time for YouTube, and I greatly appreciate his time tonight. And Rick, I will definitely be reaching out to you more often, so we can talk about these things because look, I'm just a fan. I don't know anything about the business of the sport, and that's why my philosophy is when it comes to things
I
like that,
know.
I reach out to
But
people that are smarter than
G
me.
G Funk. Three things before I leave you tonight. You ready?
Sure, sure.
I want to start with this. Okay. Learn the difference between noon and midnight. Do that, please.
That was my mistake earlier, guys. Yes.
Okay. G Fuck, I'm busting your balls. Okay, you're a
Yes,
good man.
yes. You're
I
breaking
I
my
I,
balls.
I enjoy it. But listen, guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Rick Glaser one. That's Glaser. And you got to be careful. There's a whole bunch of fake Rick Glaser accounts out there. Easy way to tell. I came on Twitter in January of 2020, and I have over 5,000 followers. All the fake accounts have like 300 followers, 50 followers, but the real Rick Glaser one is got over 5,000. So you're safe when you're on the right one, and you only have to behave, no racism, and don't insult me.
There
Okay,
you
if
go.
I say something and I have an opinion, there's a reason why I have that. I have people insulting me every day. I said, "Sir, what do you do for a living?" And he told me what he did, and it had nothing to do with boxing. I said, "Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to roll asphalt. Don't tell me about the boxing business, please."
There you go, man. There you go. Like
Okay,
I said, I
and
I always reach
and the
out to
last
people.
thing, the last
Sure.
thing, G Funk. Okay, so there's only three rules, everybody. And when I come on the G Funk show, okay, here are the three rules. Right, okay, we don't talk about women's boxing because I know nothing about women's boxing. I'm not a historian, so don't ask me a fight that happened in 1919. Okay, and the third one is know this rule: you'll always get the truth from me, whether you like to hear it or not. Okay, so
There
there
you
you go,
go.
G Funk.
There you go, Rick.
Okay.
Hey, man, I
Wait,
appreciate.
G Funk, are they smashing that like button? I mean, come
Let
on.
me let me check. Let me check. Yeah, we're over 31 likes now. So yes, they did their job. Thank you all so much
Okay,
for doing
I don't
that.
want no disrespect to G Funk here. He does a great job. He asks good questions. He lets you guys ask questions. He didn't have to ask you guys to ask questions. He didn't have to let you guys ask questions. So just keep that in mind that G Funk's the ultimate operator here, and he's doing a good job.
That's right.
Okay,
That's why
G
they call me
Funk.
the boss.
G Funk, whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, a month from now, Don't be a stranger. You got my phone number. Feel free to call me at any time. Okay, everybody, enjoy the
Absolutely.
fights this weekend. I don't know if the Haney fight and Gambosis will be too exciting, but you know, you just
Let's hope.
it's an ordered rematch because it was mandated in the first fight and part of the contract. So it is what it is. Just enjoy it, and we'll go from there. G Funk, looking forward to being on your show again. It's been a real pleasure tonight. All you guys that are out there listening, smashing that like button. I just want to let you know you asked good questions, and I was paying attention to your grammar, and your grammar is good. You passed the grammar police tonight. Gentlemen, have a wonderful evening. G Funk, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye bye now.
Absolutely, Rick. Thank you for your time, man. That was Rick Glaser, everyone. Let's give him a hand for coming on. Good stuff there, as always, from Rick. And guys, thank you all for participating and coming in and giving your questions and all that type of stuff. Like I said, this channel is about boxing and it's about the boxing fans. So that's why I let you guys ask the questions to any of my guests. That's why, I have the phone line so you guys could call in and we could talk about these fights, man. And that's what we do here. But guys, yes, we got a load of weekend. Tomorrow, I'm going to get out the Haney Cambosis prediction. I already did my prediction for Shields Marshall, but we can talk about that too. But anyways, guys, it's 10:30 here for me. I got to get up early, but I wanted to get this interview with my man Rick Glaser. I apologize for the mix-up with the time. That was my mistake earlier, but we got it in. But again, guys, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be talking some more boxing. All right. So take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day or night, wherever you're at. And we'll see you on the next one.